Yeah, as Marlena mentioned, we've got a great panel interview about to happen here. Based on Ryan's presentation, though, I thought instead we would do a four-part harmony barbershop quartet. So please welcome my bandmates here to the stage. Let's start with Tezan McKenzie. Come on out. Shiraz Niazi, come on out. And Josh Morath, come on out. Thank you all for joining today. So we're going to keep this fairly informal, as we do. The whole topic today is really around amplifying IT efficiency and a lot of really interesting backgrounds here. So let's start first with just telling everyone who you are, your organization, your role, and we'll go from there. Tizan.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tizan McKenzie. I'm with In-N-Out Burger. I'm the store systems supervisor, and I've been with In-N-Out Burger for about 20 years now. It's my 20th year. Got my start out like most In-N-Out people. First job in high school. Worked my way up to the different levels, became a manager, and spent about 11 years in operations, and then made the transition to IT. I started out in our operations support center there, which is really just a hybrid of an IT help desk and a maintenance dispatch. So we took calls on everything. But during that time there, I spent time in, I built out a tier 2 support team that focused on IT calls, and eventually became the lead and supervisor of that team. And then now with my current team, I manage a team of 7, and we're in charge of the point of sale devices and all the credit card devices across the company. So we stay busy. It's never a dull moment, but definitely love what I do.
Hi, I'm Shiraz Niazi. I'm the IT Governance, Risk, and Compliance Manager for Kura Sushi. I joined Kura in October of 2023. We had around 50 restaurants in the United States. Now we have around 76 restaurants. I joined the IT department at the time, and I recently made the shift over to the audit, compliance, and advisory services division. So my focus is information security, best practice standards, gap assessments. I'm in an advisory role to IT, so I am recommending solutions based on these gap assessments. I do stuff like privacy compliance management as well. And I assist my colleague and friend Jack Aarons, who is the director of IT, with some of the shortlisting of solutions, because at Kura we are required to speak to at least multiple solution providers before we finalize the partner that we go with for any of the solutions that we need. And that's it in a nutshell.
Go, Josh.
My name is Josh Morath. I'm the IT manager at Interface Force Solutions over in Scottsdale, Arizona. Been there for about 9 years. We're a manufacturing company. My role there is I do all the sourcing, implementing, and coordinating of all the IT resources. We're a smaller shop, so I have a very small staff. But yeah, I've been there doing it 9 years, and I wear many hats. So
Awesome. Well, thank you again for joining. So as I said, the topic today is all around efficiency, doing more with less. Let's talk about some of the challenges that you face in that type of environment. Zan?
I think a lot of challenges that IT teams face these days, I think really come down to a lot of staffing, especially, you're managing, keeping the lights on and managing all your legacy systems while at the same time trying to implement new solutions that your organization wants to implement. And I think what it also comes down to, because a lot of times, your IT teams, they do a great job of making things run seamlessly and there's no downtime, and, they make it look like magic. So I think what happens is some organizations sometimes may not understand like what that lift is to implement that new thing. So that's what I think I see. Interesting. Yeah.
I agree. You can go out and buy the Ferrari of solutions, but it does not help if you do not have the staff to maintain that tool and turn it into an operations success. You can start off implementing it with the help of your solution provider, but if you do not have the right technical people, there to manage it, you have basically a very expensive tool just sitting around being underutilized or maybe not even being utilized at all. So I agree that one of the main challenges has been right size staffing. Like with Kura, we are growing every year. Like I said, I joined in October 2023. We had 50 restaurants, and now we have 76. And so we, the challenge is not only do we have to maintain the current set of solutions, but as we identify gaps and bring in more solutions, and more restaurants are opening as well, trying to screen, train, and retain the staff necessary to maintain all of that is quite a challenge.
You guys bring up really good points. But for me, it's prioritization and time. That's my biggest enemy, and it always has been. And I think a lot of us agree that there's just never enough time. And how I tackle that usually is through prioritization. It starts by just, if I prioritize my time right, I'll actually get a little time back. So I spent a lot of time, working with lists. And I never used to, but I found the power of lists, and it started out small. But our biggest challenge, in my opinion, is time. We just don't have a lot of it, so we have to find ways to make it, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Well, prioritization is near and dear to my heart as a product manager. Let's dig into that just a little bit. So when you're prioritizing, how do you make sure you're getting kind of the highest bang for buck, either out of your own time or your team's time? Charles, you want to take a stab at that?
It is a collaborative effort. Like I work very closely with our IT team. So they always have, like he mentioned, a list of projects and the priorities. So it's always been in a collaboration with IT. My area of focus has always been information security because I have 21 years of experience in that space. So I always approach it from the security perspective. And that works really well with my IT colleagues because they're working from the restaurant operations side, making sure that, as you mentioned, the lights are on and everything's working efficiently, that we do not have any guest complaints, and making sure that everything's running smoothly. And so my prioritization has always been security, what we can do to add layers of security for our environment.
Right.
And that's how I approach things.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I think, when Ryan was out here earlier talking, he talked a lot about, patient outcomes in hospitals, and, you're talking about customer experiences, and, obviously every industry is slightly unique in what it is the outcomes are that they're going for. But overall, there's a balance that you're trying to make sure that you have to reduce the costs, add more automation, that sort of thing, while maintaining that customer experience in your case. Can you talk a little more about that? And I'll just kind of open this up to everyone around how do you balance that automation and time and effort?
It's definitely a tricky balance. My budget's not large at all. And, you're always expected to do great things and get the company or your organization where it needs to be at the right time. But then you've given this tiny little box with your resources. So what do you do, right? It's a balancing act. And sometimes you're cutting costs. Sometimes you're adding cost to maybe reduce complexity and to reduce strain on your resources so you have more to work with or free up time, essentially. That's gonna be a big topic, by the way. I'm gonna keep circling back to time because it's huge. It comes down to, I would say, just reducing complexity. And sometimes it does have added cost, and other times it doesn't. Sometimes it's reducing the cost in order to remove complexity.
Interesting. Anyone else want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with Josh. I'd say it's definitely a tricky balance. Like on my team specifically, there's a lot of scripting involved in everything that we do. We put a lot of checks in place, lots of exception reporting to help us, monitor our systems. But there's also a lot of things that we have to do manually. Sometimes for deployments, we have to dial into a point of sale device at every single store just to make sure that something got there, because sometimes we don't have that reporting. So
some of the biggest impacts you have in automation are sometimes the simplest ones, the basic tasks, right? I have a case example where, since in the manufacturing environment, we have certain machines that need near 100% uptime. They just can't afford the downtime because they're constantly running 24/7. So where do you find time to do patch and do updates? And it always was a constant battle to make that time. And it came down to just getting the right people in the right room, in the same room, and saying, hey, we need to pick a time, pick a date, make it happen. And then when we came to the actual action plan, it was just simply going in our ticket system, the scheduling preventative maintenance, automated ticket creation. And it took 5 minutes to build it. It was a 20-minute meeting, and it achieved what we needed to. And it was a simple, easy implementation that reduced our downtime and constant frustration.
For us, we at a higher level are constantly reevaluating the solutions that we have in place. And so what we do is, if we have like 3 different vendors providing a solution, sometimes we want to see if we can do it better if it's under one umbrella, one solution provider that is providing those services, or the exact opposite. Sometimes it's worked out better where we have an entire technology stack from one solution provider, and at other times we found that we've had to split it up. So it's a constant, continuous improvement cycle that we have to go through at the back end. And at the front end, in terms of our restaurant experience, we are always focused on the guest experience. So we're always implementing new technology. So something like self-seating, you'll see that at the Kura restaurants as we go along and expand that across our restaurant fleet.
Very cool. We'll slightly change topics. One of the things I noticed just hanging out with everyone this week is there is a culture that is pervasive throughout scale computing. I find it really interesting to see how the decisions that we make on our team are affected by that company culture. I'm just kind of curious, based on the cultures of your company, is there any impact to the IT decision-making process?
Well, I think for us, our executive team does a really good job of like making us feel empowered to make the right decisions. So in my role, I never feel like I have to make a decision based on costs. Like it needs to be the best decision for the company.
So with us, I agree with him here as well. Our CFO, Jeff Utz, is really, he was really frank about the fact that he said to Jack and me that, look, you folks are the experts in this area, so I'm going to trust what you come up with. And that's how he makes his decision. He empowers us to give him the best recommendation, and then he makes his decision accordingly. And so we have a culture that is collaborative. So I always collaborate with Jack Aarons, our director of IT. And if we both agree on something, is typically how we go forward and we present it to our CFO. And that's how we typically go for new technology or changes in our environment.
Interesting. For us, many of you could probably relate. I'm a little bit different. It can be somewhat of a challenge sometimes approaching the executive team to look at new solutions or new technologies or updating existing. And it really just comes down to education, right? So you want to let them know why you're doing it. How does it affect the business? What are the risks by not doing it? How much time we have possibly. But ultimately, in the end, as long as you do your due diligence with that and you make sure that they make an informed decision, generally we find a common ground to get the resources we need. But yeah, it's working with executive leadership at my organization can be challenging at times. So I think we all can relate to that. Some of us can.
Yeah. Let's change course just a little bit. We spent a lot of time this week talking about edge computing, a lot about hyperconvergence, just inherently based on what it is that we do. Kind of curious, based on your experience, how has that impacted your operations, your efficiency? Tell me a little bit about your deployment.
It's huge. Yeah. I mean, sorry, I wouldn't jump in, Josh, but it's huge. I remember we've been with Scale since like 2016, and I didn't actually pick that solution. I actually ended up inheriting it in the middle of implementation. They said, here you go. And I go, okay, I come from a VMware background. And I said, okay, well, what happens if I do this? Where's the back end? How do I check things out? How do I follow up on errors? And they go, you don't do that. You call the number. I go, you're joking, right? Like, that's kind of terrifying as a system admin at the time. I was like, this is kind of scary. But after the first support call, I was sold. And all it's done really is give us time back. I don't have to constantly check tables and charts in my upgrade paths, and I just click one button now. It's nice. Nope, that's great. It's nice.
I would have to agree. So we have Scale implemented at our restaurant support center. That's our HQ in Irvine, California. And we like the solution a lot. And Jack Aarons, our director of IT, has been speaking with the Scale Computing team, as have I. And we really liked the presentation that Jacob Smith and Mike Lyons gave us. And so we've been in talks to expand the solution. So we like the fact from a business continuity and disaster recovery standpoint and a cost effectiveness standpoint. Like, if you have a server in a restaurant and it's a single point of failure, we can have a 3-tiered solution. And with Scale Computing, you can basically, if the first system fails, you can just toggle the mobile app and switch over to the next one. And the good thing about that is it's not an immediate firefighting situation. We don't have to immediately deploy a field services tech. So we can evaluate what went on and take our time to send a field service tech if we need to. And there are multiple ways of addressing that, but generally the fact that it is it saves us time and saves us there's no downtime for the restaurant. So we like that a lot. And the fact that the Scale solution also allows us to do updates if we need to without having to reboot the systems. So there's multiple benefits that we saw, and that's why we're exploring those conversations, how to expand those services.
Fantastic. Tazan, why don't you tell us a little bit about your deployments? I think it's kind of unique. Not everybody even understands that you have these. So please.
Well, we've been a Scale customer for, I believe, going on 3 years now. And well, we're not using Scale in any of our restaurants, but we are using them on our mobile cookout trucks. So, before Scale, when these trucks are at their events, a lot of times they're handwriting the cook tags and the orders. And, for larger events, we would have like physical point of sale terminals, and which required a lot of setup from our IT teams and lots of wiring. Now with Scale, they're using, they're able to use their point of sale and get printed grill tags on all of their regular events. Also, it's like a lot more reliable. We're able to support them remotely much easier. Before, it would be one person that could support them. Now our call center can do it. They're all set up with Scale accounts, so it's just made things much easier for us to support them, and also better IT adoption. Right, they want to use the IT equipment. They don't want to handwrite customer receipts anymore.
That's pretty cool. So because I'm starving right now, let's stop talking about the food. Josh, let's talk about manufacturing. So what strategies have you used to reduce IT complexity in your manufacturing environment? Kind of what makes that unique about your manufacturing environment?
So those of you that saw my DR panel yesterday knows that we had a DR event a year and a half ago, and it became very clear that reducing complexity meant, don't put all your eggs in one basket. We kind of had a central hub for everything and all of our infrastructure, and the sister sites that were just, located next door, essentially, all the buildings next door were wirelessly connected, and that turned out to be not the best way to do things. And so after the event, we learned a lot of lessons, but one of the biggest things is we started deploying Nooks. And allocating, migrating our servers that are more or less utilized by that particular building. That way, if we have any other issues in the future, those buildings can act autonomously. Business resilience is now increased because of these changes. So,
yeah. What's the impact though if there is downtime in an environment like yours?
There's definitely lost time and lost productivity. So depending on the type of downtime that you have, there's already jobs moving on the manufacturing floor. They still work on some physical printouts. So not everything would come to a complete halt, but it would definitely slow us down to the point where, the business is impacted, and it starts to move backwards, because then orders become delayed. Customers start getting upset. They want to know where their order is, and it just snowballs from there, right? So uptime is key.
Awesome. Shiraz, let's focus on you for a second. So Kura has pioneered a lot of really interesting technology out there. I don't know if anyone's been to a Kura sushi restaurant, but it's fantastic. But
I have.
From the experience as well as the food. And a lot of that revolves around technology. How do you stay ahead of the curve? How do you make sure that you have that great in-place experience for your customers?
So for those of you folks who have not been to a Kura sushi restaurant, I highly recommend it, firstly. Secondly, we do a revolving sushi bar. So you have a plate that has a model sushi on it. So you know that, if a tiger roll is coming, what is involved in that. And then subsequent to that, you have the plates of sushi. So when we first started this was a cool concept. We have since added to it because our focus has always been the guest experience. So we keep on improving it. That's what typically drives our innovation. And so we added a second layer. So sometimes, you might have sushi plates that are super popular. And so people are just grabbing them. And so you don't want to wait for it. So we have tablets and we have a mobile app. You can use either to order whatever you want that you might not see on the conveyor belt. And that will come immediately to your booth at the second level. And it's immediate. Like, you don't have to wait for it to come onto the first conveyor belt. Then there's the around the time when we had the pandemic, everybody was concerned about how do we keep the restaurants open and everything. So what we basically partnered with a research institute to look at how we can reduce pathogens spreading to our food, for example. So the short version is they came up with the fact that if you cover the food, that can reduce the bacteria and viruses that will stay on the food. So we partnered with a solution provider that gave us canopies. And so it's a unique solution where you just pull on the plate and the canopy pops open. And what this solution did was this reduces the pathogens on your food by, I think it was over 90%. And that's what convinced the Food and Drug Administration to allow us to continue and things like that. And we've since maintained that because, you can't control how people behave, but and if someone's sick, someone's sneezing or coughing on the food. So you don't have to worry about any of that. We got those canopies. So that was a technology solution that was brought in because of the conditions at the time. We also have cute Kirby robots. They bring your drinks to you. If you don't think they're cute, you need to speak to someone why there's no joy in your life. We also, I mentioned that we have the self-seating as well. So this is all driven by customer experience first, and what we can do to realize cost efficiencies as well. So how do we keep ahead of the curve? We keep on trying to innovate and make things easier for our in terms of our dining experience.
Right. Well, Tazal, let's turn to you for a second. So staying on the customer experience, things cannot break in the environment and still provide that same guest experience. I'm just curious, how do you ensure that when you're bringing new technology in, that it's going to do the thing you expect it to do without having any other impact?
Oh, well, testing, and more testing. So in our basement, we have a lab environment. All of our stores don't have the same configuration, so we have multiple lab environments for some of our more unique configurations. But anytime we're looking to implement something, we try and set it up in the lab first, do lots of testing by multiple people, putting checklists to verify what we've tested and what bugs we found. Everyone on my team is from the stores, so when we're looking to implement something to a store, we have to kind of like think like, how can I break this if I was a 17-year-old? So, and then we got to be creative because they find a way sometimes. But once we're satisfied and we've got all our testing done, we test out a full deployment, test out a full rollback, and then once we're all good there, then we'll finally put that into a store. Luckily, like we have a store that's right next to our office, so we tend to use them as kind of our guinea pig for a lot of our new stuff. Like, for example, we're testing out new point of sale terminals at that store. So once we go live in the store, then we shift our focus to kind of just hyper focus on that store, make sure nothing's going wrong there. During lunch, we'll go down there, get any feedback from the managers and the associates, grab a burger for us, and then depending on what the risk is or how new this thing is or what it is, will depend on how long we'll leave it in there. So we can let things sit for a couple of days to like a week. Like for these point of sale terminals, we're letting them sit for 90 days. And then once we're signed off on that, then we'll expand the test to a larger group of stores and then full scale rollout after that.
Testing, and testing. What qualifies for kind of a full chain rollout? Like, what do you have to get through before everyone says, "Yep, let's do it"?
Really, it's just no support calls that are affecting business operations. Really, like no major defects. So once we've seen none of that, I think we usually sign off and we're good to go.
Yeah. So I think one of the themes for the week has been AI, and I think everyone has a different interpretation of what that is and how it impacts you. This is kind of for all of you, but how are you incorporating AI into your everyday, both personally and as an organization?
Well, I can go first if you want. It's more or less hasn't been a big push in our organization yet. There's been questions around it. We definitely had a lot of staff come when it came out, when Copilot came out and said, "Hey, can we get this? Can we try this?" And we're sure, of course, it's just, there's rules, right? Don't put any personal information on there. Don't put any confidential information on there. It's kind of the feeding system you give it. So, just be careful. But it's usually used for our day-to-day operations. I remember when ChatGPT came out, I started playing with it. My wife uses it a lot, in her communications. She works for public health. It's helped me out a few times for some organization-wide emails I've had to send out, and I'm not quite sure about my wording. I'll run it by Copilot. But nothing revolutionary as far as like, hey, we're going to do this with the system in quarter manufacturing. I think it's a little too soon. But time will definitely make AI invaluable to what we do in our everyday lives, not just IT.
Rainbows and unicorns. Go ahead.
So the first thing is, do you establish a policy where you say it is not allowed to ask the AI to calculate the last decimal of pi? And then in our environment, it's the ecosystem of our partners. So if we have a security monitoring solution provider or an email security solution provider, they use AI for the alerts and notification that then go to, say, their SOC team. And then that's where we get involved. But primarily, the first level is being handled by their AI. We also, like Josh, are using Microsoft Copilot and AI in our Office 365 environment. And we have developed guidelines on how we can use, how we approach solution providers that use AI. So guidelines along the lines of, say, we don't want our information commingled with someone else's. We don't want this information out on the internet. Things like that nature is what we have developed just recently that we have started off with. And eventually we would probably go and seek out an AI solution if we felt it's necessary and improves our operations. But so far, this is how we've currently incorporated it.
Is there any governance body or anything like that within the organization that owns this, or is it on the individual to just follow the policy?
So all the individuals follow the policy. There is a steering committee that we have. That is part of this, yes.
And are you seeing the same thing, Tizan, in your organization?
Yeah. So our AI strategy, we're taking a very slow approach, but yeah, we did just establish an AI governance. It's comprised of like senior IT leadership and legal and a few other members. But in terms of AI, some of our developers are starting to use Copilot to help with some of their coding, and then rest of us in IT are encouraged to use Chat GPT. I use it all the time, but don't input any sensitive data into it, of course. In terms of AI in the stores, I don't think we'll ever implement any kind of AI solution in our stores. I know at a lot of QSRs, labor is definitely a concern, and they're trying to implement things like AI ordering or like menu management and stuff like that. But for us, like, we're very focused on the customer experience. We're not looking forward. We're not looking to remove the human element. We want our customers to have like that face-to-face experience with our associates. So that's just not something I see in the future for us.
Okay. Well, let's get back to the practical, out of the rainbows and butterflies and unicorns and all that. Day to day. So you've implemented scale computing. How's your experience been with the product? What are the results that you've seen from that implementation? Josh, why don't we start with you?
I touched on it a bit, but again, time is our enemy, and that's the one thing it's given me back the most, and I don't think I could ever turn back to that. If anyone came to me and said, "Oh, we want to look at Nutanix or VMware," I'm not talking down to those guys. They have great products, but I don't see how those products can continue to compete against scaled. Updates are easy, VM management's easy, migrations are easy, deployment is a breeze. So I don't see myself using anything else because it just gives me so much time back. I don't have to baby it, watch it, check on it all the time, make sure, hey, is everything going okay? Let me monitor this. Like it's going to tell me what it needs to tell me when it needs to tell me. And even if something does go wrong, I know support and services have my back, because that's most of the product right there. That's what I learned right away was, hey, Scale's got a great product, great solution. Everything looks great. It's easy to use. But without your support and services team, having your back when something does happen, you have an error, you're not quite sure what's going on. They're there, and they're not just there. They're solving your issue, and they're taking it to the next step, because seems like every single call, they help me out with the issue. They get it ironed out. And they don't just say, have a great day. It's, hey, we were looking at your cluster. We saw a few things here. We'd like to run this. This will clean things up and make it look better for you, make it run a little more efficient. Oh, we want to move this data over here, maybe balance out these blocks for you, whatever it is that they're trying to do. But they don't just solve the problem that I call for. They take the extra step every time. And that's how you know that you're getting the right support. You're talking to the right people. And it's every call. I've talked to so many different people in support. I've worked with implementing like Acronis through your guys' services, and everyone's so knowledgeable, and you're always in the right hands, which is it's extremely comforting for me, because I know I can set scale where I need it, and I can look at it later. I don't have to worry about it, and I have the right people supporting me. It's awesome.
I would have to echo what he said. We've had a really positive experience with our restaurant support center. It is super user-friendly. Our teams find it easy to use. Plus, I have to credit your training team. This is the first time I came to the training, and they made it so accessible and easy. And we've had staff that have been to both the advanced training and the beginner level training. So two separate years, and they have found it super useful as well. So it's made our lives easier. And like I mentioned earlier, the business continuity disaster recovery aspect of it is super useful to us. And we like the fact that in some cases that we can get rid of a server and have the Nook solution in place, which either is at the same price or cheaper. and you have multiple layers of redundancy. So that is what we've seen. The support is great, and the folks that I've personally spoken to, like Jacob Smith and Mike Lyons, they've been super great. They make things accessible, easy to understand, and it makes our planning and our lives much easier.
That's great. Well, you brought up Jacob and Mikey and the team, but it's not all just internal scale employees that everyone interacts with. Partners are a big part of how we bring our product to market, how we bring the company to market. You've got an audience full of them. What advice do you have for vendors, for partners, and how they interact with you beyond the scope of scale computing even?
Stop calling me. I'll call you. I get a lot of cold calls, and time is big for me, and I get a lot. And if you've called me, you've probably reached my voicemail on more than one occasion, probably every occasion. But in all honesty, though, your partners are key. And a strategy that my CIO went with that I'm not going to stop using is he spent a lot of time finding the right partner for our business, and he wanted to work with just one partner. It was very important that the partner met certain criteria, specifically understanding how we specifically operate our business, our department, and understand our needs. And most importantly, they're not standing behind us with their open wallets going, "Are you ready? Are you ready? I found this. I have this." My partner is part therapist. He's there to let us vent to him about some of the issues we got going on. But the main thing is he doesn't bring solutions to us unless we ask. On the rare occasions he does, it's because he understands our business. He understands some of our more recent constraints, and he sees something that might be beneficial. And he's not looking for a sale. He's looking to help us. The sale is for him, the sale is just the byproduct of helping us out. And I genuinely feel that his goal is to help my team, me, my organization, get where we need to go. And he's not looking for the next dollar. He's looking for that relationship, and it goes both ways. But finding the right partner is key in this business.
I would have to agree with everything he said. One slight difference. So I agree 100% that we don't respond to cold calls either. If we have reached out to someone and we're exploring the option of partnering with them, or even if everything's fallen into place and we're ready to go live, with us, we go from meeting to meeting to barely having enough time to do our own work in between. So I cannot work with a solution provider that's just sent me one email and then forgets about it for like a month. That is not going to work for our environment. So what we wind up doing is the ones that I found to be super successful with us, with me and with Jack primarily, is that they email us, they leave a voicemail, they text me. Okay, so I know that something's really important that I have to address immediately.
So text him. That's what he said. Everyone here.
Yeah.
And I can agree with that too. One of those standards that my CIO had set early on was if I reach out to you, I just need contact in 24 hours. I don't need a solution. I don't need an answer. I just need hey, I heard your request. I'm going to work on it for you. But it's a 24-hour mark, and you'd be surprised how many partners that we actually went through that couldn't meet that couldn't just get back to us. And a lot of it was due to the fact that we ended up finding a partner that was local in our time zone, because we ended up working with partners that were on the East Coast, and then they weren't available and we were available. And so, yeah, I agree with you.
And another thing that is super important is that we found some mystery scope creep happen. Like, for example, we will go for a solution and we discuss all the particulars with them, and we tell them that this is our custom environment. We've got this, and this in our environment, like custom tablets. This is why our network is set up, everything. And despite knowing all of that, and once we go live with the solution, they're like, okay, you need to send field service techs to each and every one of your restaurants go and touch this piece of equipment, add this. And we're like, this was not made clear to us beforehand. So we would like to know everything beforehand because we are getting the budget approved for it. If someone shows up after we've signed on the dotted line and we've started the payment process and everything, we locked into like 1 year or multi-year contracts, and then they say, oh, in addition to this, you need this entire scope added. That's like an additional $70,000 or whatnot. That is utterly ridiculous. We would not be able to make that work. I mean, I know everybody needs to make money and everyone wants to make the sale, but please add all the particulars in so that we can make the budgets work and we can have everything approved. Otherwise, the project languishes in limbo and we will not work with that solution provider again because they did not make that entire second portion clear to us. So I don't know what the strategy is. I found that sometimes the technology is great, but because they didn't factor in the custom environment that we had, they were so they were looking forward to making the sale quickly that they didn't figure out what would work for us. And that has to be at the top of their mind if they want to partner with us. But we do not want to look for new partners every year for every piece of technology we have. We want to do business with you. Kura is growing. I just pointed out multiple times that in October 2023, we had 50 restaurants. We are now at 76. Go to our website, look at we are a public company. You can see the financial health of the company. You can see our projections. You can see how we're growing. We are growing. We want you to come with us for the journey when we are growing. So we're not looking to, we're looking to partner with folks who can make things successful for us. We want to basically present to our leadership team and our board of directors that, look, this was the project that we were talking about in our last meeting. And since then, this is where we are. But if these projects wind up failing because the service delivery team decided to add that extra scope that I just mentioned, that is a non-starter. It makes the projects not work, and it creates a lot of problems for everyone involved, including the partner. Right? Like how good is it for your bottom line or for your sales figures that you have a dissatisfied customer? Because that's just, they're going to not only not work with you, they're going to tell everybody else that this was our bad experience. Right. Yeah. So just please keep that in mind.
Shiraz, I mean, that's funny. I mean, we must talk to the same people. It's happened to me too. But I would say that, at least in my experience, it wasn't related to my partner. It was related to the different providers they bring in for the demos. And the funny thing about demos is that they're in somewhat dreamy unicorns, clouds. They paint a very good picture, but sometimes promises are made, and other times information's left out, and then you sign on the dotted line thinking you're getting clouds and unicorns, and then turns out, halfway through the implementation, you've got, oh yeah, so you got to do this as the next step, and well, you're supplying that hardware, right? Well, no, that's on you. Interesting. I don't recall this being part of the demo. It's important to ask the right questions. I mean, it does partially fall on us to make sure that we do ask the right questions, and we do push for answers. We try our best to cover all the bases, but your partner's in your corner too, and they should be there to help you out. But in my experience, though, I've had that happen, but it was more so on the demo side from the providers that the partners were bringing in. That sometimes the promises are made or information's left out. So it makes so much friction, especially when you have to go back to leadership and go, yeah, you remember how much money you spent? Got to add a couple of zeros to that now. And how do you tell them that, it was a surprise? It came out of nowhere. I mean, yeah, it really affects our reputation with our executives too. So
yeah, I'm sorry, Dad, I need more money for this. This is ridiculous.
Well, I have thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. Let's end on kind of lightning round here. One decision that you've made in your role that's had an outsized impact. Tizan?
One decision I made. Well, I think in the last year, I've hired 3 people onto my team. So I think just choosing the right people have made a huge impact on my team and the things that we do. Something I look for when I'm looking for a new candidate is are you curious? Like, you have to be curious, I think, to kind of like work in this field. So as much as someone can have all of the qualifications on paper, like, they have to have some of those soft skills as well. So I just think choosing the right people, especially when we're in this kind of climate when we're experiencing problems of staffing, like, having the right people is very important.
Great.
Could you?
One decision that you've made that's had an outsized impact.
I brought in I started the information security gap assessment and implemented the strategic security standard to couple with our tactical solutions as well. We needed to have a cohesive standard that we could follow. That, okay, we have, say, the ISO 27001 information security management system best practice standards, got 130 controls. Where do we stand against these controls? So I introduced that assessment, and I partnered with our IT director, Jack Aarons, to come up with controls and solutions for areas that we identified. Like, one key control, for example, was security monitoring. That is not something that we can do internally. We do not have the staff for it. So we have to partner with a solution provider that can not only use AI-powered tech, but they have 24/7/365 SOC. So we have those layers of security in addition to other technology layers that we have put in place. We basically want to, so we know that these days you have the type of adversaries that are not going to quit. And it's a question of when, not if. So if with that in mind, that's what I wound up implementing, and that's what I'm proud of.
Very cool. Josh? Tazan and I think a lot alike in that respect with it's the people. There's a lot of cool solutions out there, Scale being one of the best out there for what we're doing, but many other solutions that make our lives easier or help reduce complexity or reduce costs and make big impacts. But it starts with the people and the people you bring in your team. You're looking for those soft skills, right? They've got the technical knowledge. You can see it on paper. You can ask them questions about it and they can speak to it. But like, for example, if you're hiring for help desk, right, those are your frontline people. They're the ones that are the face of your department, and you want to make sure that your department's represented the way you want. And so it all comes down to attitude and excitement, right? They're kind of your hype people that hype up your department, that really send a positive vibe, and people actually want to reach out to you when they need help. Because sometimes we have staff that say, I don't want to bother you guys, or it's like, I've been making do. No, people are excited to talk to my help desk staff. Like, oh, I called and BJ came right away, and I always enjoy talking to him. He's always helping me out, and it's a different situation, a different vibe, and it makes a huge impact.
Yeah, I think it's incredible, the differences in the organizations, yet the themes that kind of carry throughout. Everyone, please help me thank our panelists for joining today. Enjoy the conversation. Thank you.